Yep.
All right. We're going to call our Policy and Governance Committee meeting to order at 4:31. And since we are waiting for another board member to arrive a little bit late, we are going to skip past approval of minutes and selection of our committee chair until we have 3 of us here. So we're going to go right into item D and start going back through the 400 series. And this is where I could have used Ruthina to be here to tell me where we left off.
407.5 is where we start.
Awesome,
I put that in the
407.5.
minutes, yep.
Connection lost to the server. Always my favorite.
All right.
Gentlemen.
Hello. For the record, are we on live? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chase made me late.
So we.
You want to make sure that was on the record.
President of the Teachers Association, very important person, and Chase made me late.
So Ruthina's coming late, so we're going to kind of skip the minutes and other stuff for now and get right into just looking at the policies.
Okay.
So we can do our housekeeping in a little bit when we're all here. So Kim was nice enough to remind me that 407.5 is where we're jumping in at. And it's a nice, easy topic of reduction in force. No big deal for anybody. So we very briefly started talking about it at the last one. So we'll kind of give everybody a chance to get their computers pulled up and the documents pulled up. I don't know that I'm the most qualified to speak to what this policy should actually read like. So I'll let the other folks in the room weigh in on any things they like. Well, obviously we got a chunk there that's kind of in the yellow that we need to look at.
I did bring on reduction in force. You know, we did talk a little bit last
We did
time.
talk a little bit, yeah.
So I printed off and I brought copies, and luckily it's enough for everybody. So if it's all right to pass around, this is. So this is one of the major changes of the legislation with prohibited topics, was to remove reduction in force from all the certified negotiated agreements. So the language down here is prohibited from being in our negotiated agreement, so it's been removed. But this is what we've been using. You know, we'd sort of gotten into a discussion about the role that seniority plays, or what that language in the IASB policies would look like. So just I thought for context, it would be helpful to see sort of what we had used prior to the legislation.
This is the language that was in the agreement prior to
2017. So then if you flip it over, there's a couple of sections where the font is bigger and the language has a set of criteria basically that are used for transfer or assignment change. And so some of this language actually still exists. And if we remember from our last meeting, Chase, this is what you had referenced and said that, that sort of recitation of staffing needs of the home building, staffing needs of the receiving building, program needs of the building district, years of experience, all of that might be a better, I of course would advocate for something that looked more extensive like what we had been using. But at the very least, the part in yellow there is the criteria to consider. Right. It would be
having that
consistent.
match this language.
Yeah. Because it's still, we all know on transfer and assignment that ultimately, as it even says on transfer, it's the sole discretion at that point of the building principal to determine, what's best quality, who's best qualified. But it might be, I just think when we talk RIFs, that was a major part of the legislation, the move that we're making. I think we have to just, I said this last time, go out and really talk to people on what it is that we're doing and why we're doing it. Because it would create definitely a lot of anxiety, potentially. Not that we've been in a RIF situation necessarily, but think about last year when you're going, gosh, can we avoid RIFs? Thankfully, we all worked together, we did it. But that's where I think people, if we got into that again, they'd say, well, it's not seniority anymore. How does it actually work? Because you sort of knew the process. You knew your least senior teachers are going to be called in. This is on the teaching side. You sort of knew, so people had been through it even in the district. They could explain that this is how it works. Here's recall rights, and so I just put that out there as not that we hadn't decided on that language, but as language that we'd used previously in this district, and some that we still use, just as a contrast maybe to what we see in the IASB stuff.
Well, I will say the one thing that stands out to me in the differences between the ISB policy and what's written here is that the ISB says superintendent shall consider this criteria, and this document says criteria that may be considered. Right? It's a little softer. It has more stuff in it too, I think, to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But it's sort of saying, here are all of the things that could possibly be considered, as opposed to look at these 4 things only, right? That's kind of how it reads, which is very limiting.
Yeah.
Does it, in either of them, does it talk about seniority? It doesn't, right?
The ISB one says number of continuous years of service to the school district, but that doesn't talk about it in terms of relationship to others similarly situated, so it doesn't use seniority. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so obviously our staff reduction seniority language had seniority, but then the other, paragraphs don't
the rest
necessarily say seniority. And they talk about years of experience in the district, years of experience outside the district, just considerations like that.
I don't know what, because, in my tenure, we did get to avoid doing riffs, so I don't know what we really do in practice, or if it's been very
I think
different every time. I mean, I would ask what would be
It
part of
what would be the process.
Part of the challenge with this is that I think traditionally think of reduction in force based on financial crisis of an organization. And this policy goes beyond that. And that's what makes it a little bit more difficult conversation. And we were kind of here at this point. It's like, well, it's just based on seniority. Because I was thinking it was just based on when you're short of money. But this gives a lot of flexibility for when you want to have a reduction in force. And quite honestly, there were a couple of years where we could have used language like this.
Oh,
where
yeah.
There were teachers that we probably would have riffed because of changes to programs,
Right.
because of the complexity of our old language and the negotiated agreement. We kept and moved into positions that they really, quite frankly, had no business teaching in, because they happened to have a certification that they hadn't used for 25 years, but because they didn't have 25 years, we had to get rid of the 3-year rock star that was also in that same department, simply because that's the only certification that person had.
So like, Chase, are you saying like if we had some auto program and we got rid of the auto program and we took the auto program teacher who's
Yeah.
been doing auto for 20 years and make him like IT director because he's got an IT
Yes.
certificate, and then we have to fire the IT
Yes.
person?
Exactly.
over there?
Yeah. What stories have you heard?
So other
Let the
than
record
that.
show that was a hypothetical.
Hypothetical, but like, just so I can wrap my head, so other than that situation and money, when would the other times, are there other scenarios in which we'd want to use the RIF process?
This language leaves
Yeah.
it very
Open. That's the only 2 times that we would use it.
You'd
That I
really be
can-
repurposing resources.
Are you talking about
right?
Yeah.
Is what you're
the
doing
language
with other
in the
scenarios.
first
I mean, I
couple
can't think of any other
paragraphs?
time when you'd want
Yeah.
to get,
Yeah.
when you'd want to RIF people. You either repurpose the resources or you don't
Yeah.
have money to pay.
Or you don't have
them.
money.
Yeah, the only times that we've ever had to even consider it in the district are when we're short cash from the state, or when we've seen which actually is often related to the short cash from the state, is then a programmatic change. So think elimination of elementary orchestra, German,
Yeah.
right? So all of a sudden we had we had significantly fewer sections of 4th grade orchestra, so now we had extra instrumental music teachers. German, some of our CTE programs as they got under-enrolled and we had to consolidate them. So that's one we've had to deal with in the past. Beyond the budget and we haven't actually made any programming changes when times were good from a financial standpoint that resulted in those kinds of of staffing shifts because we've actually been able to plan for it. So we've been a lot more planful about any kind of shift like that. So it's really for us been a financial hardship case.
I guess I look at
Yeah.
this blending of taking some of the, the language in the ISB policy itself, but blending it with the criteria portion that we have from the agreement. I'm not sure how I feel about the last sentence of the sole discretion of the building principal. I don't know how that
Oh, yeah.
necessarily
Yeah, right.
plays out.
Yep. Yes.
Well,
We-
because
which
that
one?
language is from,
That's
those
transferred.
folks aren't losing their jobs.
Right.
Oh, are
Those
you
folks
over
are
here?
just being
Sorry.
moved from one building to another
Yeah.
building.
Yeah.
In reduction of force, we're talking, so I agree with you, like, the principal shouldn't just get to say, we're
I guess
putting
it
this
is.
person
Yeah.
on the street, but I was just trying to think of the criteria we were
Well,
using.
that's why I printed them
Yeah.
out. I've done the same thing,
Yeah.
like just so we had that as a reference. Those are the criteria we've used that probably are more extensive because it talks about, like this says, demonstrated performance. Ours, I would say, quality of professional experiences as evidence through evaluation procedures, comma, and evaluations, parentheses, partial or complete, in parentheses. That's to me, I could see more easily us getting into a situation or conversation where we say, well, let's look at your evaluations.
So from a administrator standpoint,
Yeah.
in all honesty, like, I'm very comfortable with the way the language is written in the yellow,
Yes.
in the IASB
I'm sure.
policy. You sure I am?
Yeah, I can imagine.
All right, let's just all be honest at the table.
That's why you brought your copy. That's why I brought my
Yeah.
copy.
Oh, I thought you just
Exactly.
wanted to see it
Yeah.
printed out differently.
Yeah.
So kind of what other things do you want to see in that list for consideration?
Yeah, you mean, if.
Because I don't
just-
think
Yeah.
and I know we're all trying to work through this collaboratively, but
Yeah.
right from an administrative standpoint, we can't advise the board to give up their ability to make decisions that are based on multi-factors, right? Rather than just,
Well,
rather than, I mean, we
Of
could,
course,
I don't think.
clear that they
we-
want language that can stay in the contract, to stay in the contract. So if we have language on RIFs, it could go exactly as is to board policy. Nothing prohibits that. So if we want to take it up to the board and say, which would you prefer to do? Language we've used for 25 years successfully, or IASB's recommendation.
Because I'm assuming this
Right.
printed out is what,
This is what used to be in the contract prior to.
So,
Okay.
due
this section
process
being-
for terminations due to a reduction in force will be followed. I don't have a problem. We spelled out what recall rights are. So what does that mean? So if I'm looking at the board, or the proposed language changes, and I say, and someone asks me, what are the due process, steps for terminations due to a RIF? What would I tell them? After the yellow on the DDI.
Well, I think there's language in the code about what type of due process. If memory serves, I think,
Yeah.
in teacher termination, I think there's language that talks about what due process they should give if it's due to a reduction in force
Okay.
as opposed to
Yeah.
for just cause. I assume that's what it's referring to, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So, yeah, I mean, that's where this is just one where, this was signature part of the legislation, so I get, the tip of the balance of it, but it's, I just think the board probably has to have a level of comfort if we got into a RIF situation and employees who've been around a while like me said, okay, how does this work?
Well, here's my concern with, I agree that from an administration side, we want the most flexibility in the
Right.
multi-factor test and all that. But my concern is, okay, if we have this multi-factor test and we have to RIF 20 people, well, every single one of those 20 people might sue the district, being like, blah, you misconstrued the factors, and so we're opening ourselves. Whereas if we have, listen, it is seniority, and first in, first out, I think that limits our openness. It ties our hands. And I'll tell you, having Jason be the brand new teacher at City, his first year we almost had a RIF, and we were we were like, well, this sucks. So it sucks being that first person in.
Right.
But I will say there's a degree of stability to that. that I think the teachers appreciate.
That's-
Because it's not hard, you just
But I
know,
was
oh,
thinking too.
I don't,
there's the con. So, I mean, I see pros and cons
Yeah,
to
right.
both sides.
But I was just sidebarring here because then you have I think back to our PE art issue,
Yeah.
right? You know, because then you get is it seniority in area that you're teaching or seniority in certification? Because we have people that carry multiple certifications, and when we went through the RIF process, when we had to do it back in, was it 13?
Yeah.
13? You know, I can remember us going through and saying,
Yeah.
we were very specific about where to riff because we could look at a teacher and say, if we riff here, we can move that teacher over here, and she's really good and we want to keep her, and given her certification, we can displace someone here to keep her, and that was a really tough process for us to go through.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the challenge of all of this and the
And she
balancing.
hadn't taught that content area ever, I don't think.
Right.
Yeah,
And then
that's
Mike
just
didn't
one
cut
example.
it. I mean, that's.
But then, but then the downside is you lose your stellar great teachers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because you don't have the flexibility to do anything.
No, I don't disagree with that. And I think the challenge probably is that this is language that you won't revisit every year. And so one of the things that, you know, is true is that I think everyone around the table has a great level of trust and, you know, collaborative spirit and partnership, but they're not going to be us sitting around the table.
Yeah.
So you want to create a
Yeah.
framework that works without it being contingent upon the personalities and the working relationships you have around the table. So that's just sort of my, like, I think we do a great job in the district at taking a look at the granular level about who it is, who might be affected, what programs, how many kids and families, you know, but we haven't always done that great of a job at the district level. And so I just want us to make sure on this one we have some, you know, language that would help guide us through what is going to be just a very emotional process for
So-
sure, for everybody.
perhaps instead of trying to get this all figured out, get the table there, Madam Chair, would you like Brady and I to, or is Sean the chair that could?
I don't know, we haven't voted
Yeah,
on it.
man.
Right now, I'm still chair.
She's still chair.
Dear board members all sitting here in front of me.
Here's
Would
what
it
I
be a
would,
better use if?
Here's what I would say as direction though, right? If you take the part that's in yellow here and the criteria, I really think you need to, if you want flexibility, take out the word shall and make it a may, because that instantly gives you more flexibility. But the stuff that's there is, I think the first paragraph that's not criteria is where you get flexibility and why you would have reduction in force. And I think that reads well from an administrative and a board perspective.
Yeah.
But the criteria itself is kind of limiting, and you know, one of the 4 things that they have on there is qualification for co-curricular. I don't know that needs to be one of our top
Yeah.
reasons for keeping somebody or not keeping somebody.
Yeah.
Well, I can
So
tell
I
you
would
that-
blend
yeah.
some of the criteria that's in this with the other thing to get a list of things that can be
Yeah. I think
considered
that's fair.
as a total package, as opposed to this one's first and then this one's second
Sure.
and this one's third. I think
Yeah.
then everybody can see that, oh, right, we're considering a lot of stuff. Because in the end, you're going to make kind of that eyeball test of like, you know what? This person makes more sense to stay than this person. And these are the reasons why.
Yeah.
Because you're going to find, you know,
need that
some of these
balance.
things are going to fit everybody,
Right.
right? So at some point,
Yeah.
you
I
got to
think it's
But I
pull the
think
trigger.
with
Yeah.
that guidance, yes, you and Brady should, using that as a guiding principle, then work out something
Okay.
to present back, because I think there still need to be that discussion on exactly what will that be,
Yeah.
instead of us trying to fine tune it at the table.
What if instead of changing the shall to a may, what if we also had a shall and a may? I mean, I think that there are a couple things here that we say
That's
that
fair.
they should absolutely consider. And I think
That's
that may
fair.
give someone, like, continuous years in service absolutely has to be considered.
Yeah.
And then in discretion, you may also consider, you may also consider these following factors.
Yeah.
Because I think there's probably some that we can be like, no, we wouldn't
Yeah.
want everybody to
Sure.
at least look at it.
Absolutely. Yep.
And that'll give
Yeah.
everybody a little bit of assurance, okay,
Yeah.
they have to consider years of service, but then it opens up and says, but we can look
Yeah.
at these other
I
factors.
like that.
I do too.
Because-
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah.
Because I agree, like, the flexibility in that first paragraph is awesome from one perspective, but also I just don't think of reduction in force when we are realigning staff or changing the number of our students.
Yeah.
We do that, but we don't call that a reduction in force.
Mhm.
And so, the
Yeah.
idea of having some shalls and some mays, I think, is good as we look through that.
Yeah.
So we can work on that.
Yep.
For sure,
And,
that's
and
right.
I
Yeah.
had one more contextual piece that you just want to kind of put in the back of your mind, which is the board has talked about grade level reconfiguration.
Yeah.
Certification could be a major issue if you look at moving sixth grade into a middle school format.
Yep.
And so this kind of language could have some significant impact on people depending on what their certification is. So just as you two sit down, just keep that in the back of your minds.
Okay.
So, because that's one more thing that if there's something that we can proactively think about adding in here, so that if we get to that point, we're
Right.
already able to answer questions for staff. I think that's one of those kinds of things, back to your earlier comment.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that puts people at ease,
Right.
because they see that there's some planfulness and some thoughtfulness that goes into it, and they don't,
Yeah.
they're not left to wonder,
Yep.
so.
Yeah,
just
that makes
a
sense.
thought.
Yeah, because I would say that, I think that's awesome. The list of criteria that are different, we always say, but it is up to the administrators. I mean, like, it just is, these are the things that we hope they work
They
through, and as we
consider,
have
yeah.
conversations, say to consider this, yeah, we know it's.
And some of the criteria here is baked into that first paragraph, right? When you talk about program
Yeah.
needs of the building and the district, well, that's already in that first paragraph as to why you're having the reduction
Yeah.
of force in the first place.
Okay. No, I appreciate it, taking a look at this.
Alright. You wanna keep going?
Huh? You're the chair. Unless we want to skip back to when I was figuring we'd work through policy until 5:30 and then we'd go back and do the other things.
Okay, we'll do that then. Next section, early retirement. Any concerns with the wording?
55 is too old at the state level, I'm just gonna say.
I'm with that guy over there.
Oh,
Yes, we offer,
Yeah.
we offer early retirement for part-time employees, not just full-time employees.
so who are regularly scheduled or,
So
that has to be changed then, full-time and,
if we just pull full-time out,
Does it have,
so it's just for licensed employees?
I was like, is there more farther down?
there should be one for, I assume there's one for support employees later
Yeah,
on
because
in,
this, we're just talking about licensed
Right.
Yeah.
employees.
So if you just pull full-time out of the first sentence where it's there twice.
Yeah, first and second.
Yeah.
Licensed employees.
So we would need to delete the word full-time out of this section,
Right, and then
because it comes up a couple of times.
and you could really almost take that entire second line out. You'd need licensed at the end of the first line, then licensed employees, and you could take out from R all the way to and. So it'd be licensed employees who are currently performing their assigned duties within the school district. I mean, we have to rework that. We don't have a, if you work .25 and you've been a .25 teacher for the last 10
10
years,
years,
we
yeah.
will let you retire
Okay.
early. We don't, there's not a minimum number of hours you
But
have
it's a
to work.
minimum age, this next section.
Right, so
Yeah,
the,
yeah.
and I've got all the yellow, so 55 is
Well,
the first
yeah,
bullet.
prior to that, right?
55, completes a total of how many years?
7 years.
Okay.
I think some of that stuff is farther down in one of the
Yeah.
other added docs.
So are we
It actually is
going-
calling that stuff out,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
3 or
okay.
4 pages later.
Right. So are we going with, are we using just the non-enhanced?
Just the
early
baseline,
retirement?
yeah.
Because the non-enhanced is
It's 10
10 years
years.
of service.
Yeah,
The enhanced we've done has been 7,
Right, so it's
the
10.
last 5 years, yeah.
so this is just the regular?
Yeah, this looks like regular.
Well, that's what that was sort of my question is this just like, we're just using the regular, and it is for all employee groups, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
The school district offers an early retirement plan.
For,
That sounds like a base plan.
Oh, we do. And then we usually offer an enhancement every year.
Mhm.
right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's 10 years.
It's 10, yeah.
I'm looking it up
What's our
online
magic
right now.
date? for this?
That's what I was
It's-
just wondering.
Is it March
too.
1st?
It is, it's March 1st or March 30th.
Yeah, I think it's March 1st.
It's whatever we put in this policy.
I think it's before,
So what do you want
I think
to
we
do?
always do it before spring break,
Yeah.
because then Amy and I have used spring break when it's quiet to sit down and do staffing.
Yeah.
So March 1st.
Yeah.
I know.
It's whatever we
but
put in here,
I
that's
know.
what it will be.
Yeah, because we usually then on the enhanced.
And,
build
and
it
just for
earlier.
your, so, applications submitted after March 1st may be considered depending on circumstances, because there's some state regs on, if you offer a benefit to early retiree, you can pay for it out of the management fund, but only if the retiree has notified the district by May 1st.
Yes.
So that's why that consideration line is in there. So you can consider them after March 1st, but then after May 1st, we have to look really closely at it, because if there's an incentive and you were to approve it as a board after May 1st, now it comes out of the general fund.
Mhm.
So we've been pretty reluctant to take anything that comes in after that May 1st deadline. So that's just an FYI for you, so you know kind of the context of why it's may sound so early. And so we can get that done before that May 1st deadline, because we have to make sure they get all the paperwork in and all the rest of that.
Do we want to have that explicitly called out? That-
No, I think that's just contextually, so you understand why those dates are where they are.
And Kim, it's actually 15 years.
The base one?
Completes a total of
Yeah.
15 years.
Worked in the district at least 15 years, and we say with the last 10
10 consecutive.
consecutive.
Oh, there you
is
go.
our ba-
Yeah,
Is our
yeah,
base,
10,
is
yeah.
our baseline
Yeah.
program. We just had the meeting before winter break.
We did.
Enhanced, and I'm looking at the slideshow.
Yeah.
And then it is March 1. That's the big one.
Okay. Great. So.
I'm a little, I don't know, I'm reading like kind of the last line, there's failure of the board to approve their early retirement application puts their contract full force in effect. That's like, they really have that power to say, nope, no early retirement for you?
Well, keep in mind that for us, it's been an opportunity for us to manage our budget. But for small districts, frequently it's not the budget that's the issue, it's having a calculus teacher, a physics teacher, a Spanish teacher, or whatever. And so there are districts out there that won't release their teachers from contracts, that
Yeah,
won't release,
for
the-
sure.
that
And-
won't
Yeah,
allow
and this
them.
conversation, we've
Yeah.
had this
Yeah.
in like
Mhm.
20 different
Exactly,
places.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just,
It is interesting.
it seems to me, do we want that language in ours?
Yeah.
Because that, it really does not apply to us. I mean,
Yeah.
does it hurt anything? I don't know. It just seems like a
Yeah.
weird thing to have a sentence in there in the context of our district, like, I'm gonna tell somebody, nope, you can't retire.
I agree.
That's
I
weird.
understand, but at the same time, when you're looking at teaching profession shrinking, I mean,
Oh, well.
I
That's fair.
think
That's
we,
fair.
even though we haven't had that problem,
Yeah.
as Brady mentioned, you know, we don't have that issue now, but future boards, I kind of want that there just because you see on the news, it's not the same numbers of people going into the teaching profession. And we may one day have that, like, oh, Brady can't leave
Yeah.
because we need him.
We're
Sorry,
not-
Brady,
just
we're
as-
not.
we're never
Just
having
as
that
an
day.
example, what you're saying?
Just as an
Yeah.
example.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Let the record show that was a
Yeah,
That was a hypothetical,
I was
and
not threatening Brady.
Chase,
how many of
Chase
those we
made
could
me
get on
late.
record
That's
today.
right.
So, that's the only
Yeah.
caveat that I would want it there.
We just
for
send
that.
Brady out recruiting people into the teaching profession. That could be your full-time job.
I don't mind doing that.
So,
Let's see how it works.
is there any
Yeah.
other changes to that before we move to, what is this? All the options?
Oh,
No changes on page 1.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff after page one that
Yeah.
So on page 2, we use option 3 currently. That,
So we don't even offer the other options? Okay. So option
Yeah.
3 should be option 1.
Yeah, and it's there's a blank in there. It's 50% is
Yeah.
our
Okay.
base plan,
yeah,
but that's the only option that's based on that.
right.
Just, is there a reason why we don't offer? Is it too costly?
That's just been our
Okay.
plan.
Yeah, and that's where your enhancements, it does give you more flexibility as a district than when you can do enhancements and
We can
incentives.
offer something
to-
different.
Mhm.
Got it.
And
Okay.
say, hey, look at this year, it's gonna be 75, 90.
Sounds good. So the continuation of insurance benefits starts at the bottom of 2 onto 3.
Yeah.
Do we do something different there?
For standard, we
We
do option one.
Option 1,
We
okay.
don't offer option 2 or option 3.
All right. That's easy. Do we do a beneficiary option?
That I have a question mark and ask less. I don't
Which part?
think we do.
Dependent
No,
insurance
down
coverage.
next page.
Oh, sorry.
Event, no, I don't know if we do.
Beneficiary option.
They die between the times
Wait
they
a
Yeah.
minute.
get paid
So by
and
the
they
time-
retire.
Yeah, because you
Oh,
don't get
That's
your.
a tight
Oh,
window.
oh, oh,
That's a tight
oh.
window.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. we pay
Ipers
that
has
out.
it though.
Yeah, we
Oh,
pay that
okay.
out.
But yeah,
And I'm like,
I thought
wait.
we
I was
did.
thinking like they were retired and they died at like,
No, no,
you know,
no.
10 years
I'm
later.
saying
Like, no, we
hypothetically.
stopped getting my
It's-
benefits.
It's like the
Yes.
IPERS system as well, right? You have to make that decision, like you've got
Right,
your date and then
hypothetically,
your
the
collection
spouse
date,
dropped
there is,
dead, I can't
Yeah,
collect.
yes.
right, and it's unfortunately it could happen.
Heck yeah.
Because you retire at the end of June and you don't get the payout until October.
That's
right.
So freak accident.
So
Yeah,
we
would
do
pay it.
cover it.
We would pay it.
Okay.
Yes.
It's the heartbreak of not teaching anymore.
The board has complete discretion to offer, not offer. The board may discontinue at any time. Will have blank years to utilize this early retirement plan.
The board.
I would just get rid of that last.
I think
The
so.
last sentence,
Yeah.
okay?
I mean,
That's right,
So
man.
we'll
That
get
whole,
rid of
that
that
whole
whole
last
last
thing, right?
sentence.
Well, and the board has complete discretion to offer or not offer. Just, I suppose you can discontinue it.
Because it is up to the,
Yeah, if you leave the first two sentences and take out the last one, it says it goes in perpetuity until
the
a board says,
yeah.
no, we're not doing it anymore.
Right.
But-
I don't even understand what that last sentence means.
License.
I guess it's saying that
Does
if
it mean
they
a
put it in.
specific early retirement, like,
I think they're saying that if the board adopts this, if this board adopts this in July of 2020,
that it will
and the
run
board
for
in
4
2 years
Yeah.
says we're not doing it anymore, but we put a 5 there, everybody would have
5 more years
5
of
more
what they got.
years to utilize it, even if the board discontinued.
Oh.
man, that is a
Yeah.
tortured reading of that sentence. I mean, if that's the intent of what we want to do, we should.
No, I don't
we
wanna
should-
do
Yeah,
that.
no,
That's
no,
right,
we should
yeah.
rewrite that sentence.
I think we
so-
should take that sentence out.
Well,
It's-
yeah.
it's-
Yeah, I'm with you. That could be what it means. Who knows?
Well, because the thing is, what is that, I mean, from a tortured reading standpoint, is that people who comply with the wording today?
Right.
So I'm old enough today and I could, but I'm not going to, so if I wait 2 years, then I could. But if you're not old enough today,
Oh, yeah.
you know, I mean, what a mess.
See, that's what I
Right.
want, if
Yeah.
it refers to this retire, I
Yeah.
mean, this might get triggered when we put early retirement out. And so does it mean that they really have 5 years to decide if they want to
Oh, boy.
take advantage
Yeah.
of
We
the
don't want
early
that.
retirement?
Because it
We're
could go
just
from the
taking
point
it
where it's
out.
early to
Perfect.
not early
Yes.
Yeah,
anymore.
delete.
Strike that last
Yeah.
sentence.
We're
Yeah.
just taking it
Yeah.
out completely.
That would, that's a
Avoid that
Can't
nightmare.
get it.
Yeah.
question.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
she's already struck it. Okay.
Right, yep.
Good. All right.
Kim struck it out 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, Kim's like, you know what, hurry up.
That's why I have an eraser.
Let's move on.
Move on, please.
Take care of it.
Is this receipt
Oh, boy.
what we use?
No.
It's just a form that.
This is,
This is similar to a
Ours
few
is
things
like
we
a
had
page.
earlier, right? That the employees have received these things and they're signing off that they've
Yeah.
received them all. And we were trying to figure out a way to just sort of
No,
either
you
do
don't.
it all in one shot electronically, or
Right.
we talked about it. I don't. It seems like it would
Yeah,
go
is
in
this
that
when,
pile.
from like when email didn't exist?
no, these are just forms that
would
ISD
think.
ISD
is trying to put
suggests.
together for
Yeah.
districts
Forms
that
they
don't have
suggest.
anybody to do anything.
When you'll have to print
But
out
we
like
have people
20
that
copies
do stuff.
instead of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
We
we
got
don't
it.
need it.
No, we got our own.
Paper's
form.
great.
So we can strike this.
That's
I will.
right.
Okay.
We got our own form that we utilize.
Kim,
I think so.
got
So
it.
you're saying just strike that whole.
Yeah,
Let's get
because
rid
we
of
have
it.
that form that we use.
Mhm. Recommends the license.
And I think the next one can get struck because that's basically you're signing which
Right.
option you're
Yeah.
picking, and there aren't options.
Get rid of
to
that
pick
one.
from.
The next one.
Recommended is the license.
62.
Like illegal.
And is this the application you use?
We have, no,
No?
there's nowhere near enough
Okay,
information on this page.
get rid of that one.
For our employees.
Yeah.
What about 6G1?
So that is ours, right?
Yeah, I think that is ours. No, yeah.
So we're doing are we skipping through all of the application things?
Yeah,
I think so.
we got rid of
Instead of
that.
6
We're just,
G1.
yep.
I mean, if you want, what we can,
One's one.
Well, what form do? Why don't we just
let's
insert
say,
the form
why,
that
we
we
can
just
just,
do?
we can just
Yeah,
Just
upload the form.
insert
that
our
we use.
form.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In that area, it would be,
Yeah.
just make it
Okay.
consistent with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll have to update it every year.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that. Because the form we use, we put out when we put out the enhancement.
Yes.
And
But
it
it-
includes all the details, so when you sign it, you're signing a form that has all the
And it
details. It's not
includes-
referring to something
Right.
else.
And it includes the enhancement language and the regular language.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, okay,
Yeah.
we can do that. Kim, I can get that to you.
Perfect.
and we've done that to make sure that there is no confusion.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's important to have it in there and to have the form.
Can we make a form that just has the base language in it?
We
I think-
can.
And then you can still do your enhanced form however you're doing it? Because I don't know that you want crammed into policy the enhanced form that you have to then change every single year and requiring a board vote to do that
Okay.
in
Oh.
the policy.
Could do that. I
Sure.
mean, the base form is just the top paragraph in there, the top bullets in there.
But
You
And
could just-
maybe
I'll
even
get-
a statement
I'll
that
see.
says
Yeah.
this is the base.
We
Sure.
can-
Right, just so that
The
there's.
district may
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
offer,
Here's where the enhancement
you know, an enhanced version or whatever you
Right.
want to call it, right?
We
Just
can
have
do
a
that.
line that
Yeah.
says that, but the form
Yep.
is just base.
Okay,
Yep.
I can do that.
Oops, I got ahead. Which one are we on here?
Sure.
Which one are we on? I think I got ahead. I was scrolling.
The 6.1 is
We're
just
six-
our very specific
6.1.
guidelines, which I don't know is that. Well, I guess it has more
Yeah, I'm on
information.
E2 now. Where are we?
Our-
Pro 7.6G1.
G1.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm gonna give you our
Yep.
current form.
Okay.
Scrolling around. Get lost.
Okay.
G1.
So. 6G1.
I mean, that's current language, right, from
Yeah.
our stuff, so
I just wanted to make sure.
Mhm.
I don't see. It's a little bit redundant to the first page of that section. It's just-
Yeah.
But it,
But I don't know
put it
that-
all there.
And you can
Yeah,
color it.
yeah, I think it's.
Okay. 408.1, professional development.
I'm in favor.
Yeah.
I don't think that was the question, but I'm glad.
You know, this one's interesting because our approval, this, if I remember reading this, the approval of the superintendent must be obtained prior. So I know if we use designee and/or designee, that could work, but like our TQ committee is,
Isn't this covered?
it would be, yeah, I mean, yes, we have language in the agreement about.
Professional league.
Yeah, and a lot of it is
That's what
really
it's
similar, like you
Yeah.
have to have pre-approval. There, requests that involve unusual expenses or overnight travel must also be approved by the board.
Ooh.
That we don't
That
have.
doesn't come in.
No, and I thought, so if someone's going to a conference, a national conference, that doesn't get to the level of the board, other than
No.
in expenses.
That's what comes
After the
before us,
fact.
that's after the
After
fact.
fact.
Yeah. I think, I look at it as we satisfied my need anyway when we talked, you know, I don't, it's been so long, I don't know if it was early on the 400s or some other
Oh.
that we did where we talked about getting,
A
that there's some
report
sort of
back.
report out after whatever conference is, and who that report out goes to was variable, but is a satisfying of what did the money get you, right?
Yeah.
And it, you know, that satisfies me, I don't need to, as a board approving
No.
a conference ahead of time seems
Yeah.
a little.
We might struggle as a system to be that organized, I'll be honest. I mean, they're just, I think, we're just a big enough system with so many people maybe doing some different
We
things.
just don't have it.
Yeah, I don't think
We
we'd
need a
be
better
down at that
workflow.
level.
Yeah.
We don't have it automated the way we would
Right.
like
But
for it to do that.
Yeah.
the
so I
funny
think
thing
that
is,
would be-
even at the university, we don't do prior approval
Yeah.
of It's when your expenses come back and then you say, oh, guess what? That trip to Fiji, we're not covered.
Should have
You
gone
liked
through
it.
it better.
Yeah. Should have talked to me. But yeah, I agree. We can take out that last line.
But we do have language though, Chase. I mean, you're right. I'm trying to,
It's on 15.
thanks. Oh.
And it's a little more specific, but I
Ours
think
is,
it
yeah.
would.
So are you saying, well, what are you saying?
Just that they're in concert, like I don't think that there's anything contradictory about them. To your point about adding the superintendent or designee, I mean, and we'd always refer to, by law, we have to refer to the collective bargaining agreement
Mm-hmm.
over the board
Right.
policy anyway.
Mm-hmm. If we take that last line out,
Yeah.
last sentence out, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just thinking the way we do it. I mean, Matt probably chairs the TQ committee, I think, or Diane,
Oh, Diane.
too. Diane does, yeah. So that's a designee. Yeah. So the last
So
sentence.
taking the last line out and
And
adding that
superintendent
designee part.
Yep.
That's in several places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As down below it says, the superintendent will have sole discretion to allow or disallow licensed employee, so it will have to be, that's not true. That has to be updated.
Which one?
The first sentence in
Of the
the
second
last
paragraph.
paragraph, it says the superintendent will have sole discretion to allow or disallow licensed employee to attend or participate in the requested event.
Oh.
Because that happens, again, in a district like Lone Tree, that's probably
Right.
correct.
But here, it's the superintendent or designee
Right,
will have, not sole.
right.
Yeah, the last paragraph basically reads as
Oh.
the criteria as to why, and the second paragraph, you're getting approval or not getting approval, right? So it's
Mhm.
whether or not you feel like it even needs that language.
And
You
currently
know,
it doesn't, because we have it lined out in our negotiated agreement.
Yeah.
But who knows how long that'll be there.
I'm just not even sure that the last paragraph's needed
Right,
at all,
that's
in my
what-
opinion.
yeah.
I mean, like, one before that says you need to get approval, and if you get approval, you go.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I do like the first sentence if you add or his designee or their designee, because I don't wanna have people think that they have some right to attend professional development. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's just the sole discretion of whoever is gonna make the decision. It's their decision to make, and no one has a right to it.
Right.
That's why I like that first sentence. But like, Steve,
I
do you
guess
have
I
a
get
list
that
of
from
everyone you've designated?
asking for approval, I
No.
get that same thing.
No, because it depends on the funding source.
Yeah.
Because that covers, like, we can just move that up though to the second paragraph, approval of
Yeah,
the-
you could,
yeah.
it could be the last sentence in the second paragraph, absolutely. But so far it just says, you make the request to the superintendent, you gotta get approval ahead of time.
And
I
they
just think
don't-
that one sentence that says approval isn't mandatory. Do you know what I mean? It's
Guaranteed, yeah.
not guaranteed.
Because a lot of
Well,
it
they
is-
don't make the request to me.
Well, no, it's gonna be your building administrators
Yeah.
mostly, if they're within a building, that's
Or it
gonna
could
be.
be Title I, I mean,
Well,
I'm just
exactly.
thinking about
Your
all
special
funding
ed team
sources.
is-
yeah.
Well, and that's why we say superintendent or designee
Yeah.
will.
This is just one where it isn't and I don't know that you want to or could run it in a tight fashion. This is just one where there's a lot of folks who have a say in approving or not. In my professional leave form for an in-district training that I'm facilitating was just signed by an assistant principal, and then it'll be signed by Diane, and that perfectly legit. And it won't go beyond that.
Yeah, I think that abides by the way the language
sure.
as we talked about.
Yeah.
You to do one for in the district?
Yeah. To use TQ money.
Mhm.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
'Cause we gotta-
travel, but it's
So
your
we
sub
gotta account for
expenses.
those dollars, yeah.
Okay.
So,
But I don't think this policy would apply to that, because it's other than development programs sponsored by the school district.
oh, Yeah, true. I suppose that since it's sponsored by.
So
the
that,
school,
I mean, technically, that's
Yeah,
why
right.
you didn't have to get superintendent approval,
Yeah,
because that's not covered by this.
yeah, true.
I mean, if
Since
I were
this
your
is
lawyer,
sponsored, yeah, right, sponsored by
explaining why you
us, I
violated
suppose,
the
right?
policy,
Yeah.
that's what I would tell somebody.
So I'm okay.
So you're
All
okay.
right, I'm not going to big house. Whew, that's all I got.
I mean, I think this is just all out of district
Yeah,
stuff,
I
which
think
I
you're probably right.
still happens, but less
Yeah.
common.
Yeah,
than-
Sure.
Yep.
So,
Mhm.
alright. People okay with the proposed changes? Alright.
Can we get over there?
I think so. So the first sentence of the last paragraph goes up to the second
I think so.
paragraph
Yeah.
and then strike everything else?
Yes.
Yeah.
Got it.
But it'll also have to say the superintendent or their designee.
Or designate, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Alright. Publication or creation of materials.
Okay.
Alright,
Yeah, that's what I
Okay.
thought that one.
easy peasy. Next, licensed employee tutoring.
Oh, yeah. It's been a conversation. Yeah, for sure we do. Not in the buildings, but. But it is not a, we do it, but it's not a,
It's not.
it's not approved by the superintendent
No.
though. We've got plenty of teachers who tutor privately. I don't have
As
an
long as it
exact
doesn't-
count,
I mean,
but.
can you,
So this is actually, so there are some, the BOE Code of Professional Responsibility speaks directly to this.
Yep.
It's a violation of their professional obligations under their license to tutor students in their own class for
Right,
money, right?
right.
So.
Yeah, I'm not talking
this
about
isn't-
they're not in
this
their own
isn't that-
class.
Yeah, this is weird. This isn't.
this
Well,
isn't talking about
Right,
that.
no, it's, well, it is at the bottom.
Yeah,
It specifically says not their own students, though.
yeah.
May only tutor students other than those whom the
Yeah.
teacher is currently exercising. But we let our teachers tutor their own students as long as they don't make them pay.
Right.
It's probably not called tutoring, it's just called
Teaching.
teaching, extra
Yeah.
help after school.
Well, then, I mean, that
I
kind of
think
is
that's
covered
what
in the
they're
first
talking
sentence,
about,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's in the first
No.
part, they're talking about being paid.
I'm the one math teacher in a smaller town, and I'm tutoring
Oh,
students, or there's
yeah.
one of two of us, and I'm tutoring, and I don't have them now, but I'm gonna have them. I mean, I think we're a different
Yeah,
system.
so we're not writing that
Right.
policy.
No,
Right.
we're not. I guess I would say the one thing that I've always talked with teachers about in that second paragraph, when they've asked me about tutoring, is that to be, in terms of the ethics, be not only, obviously, if they're a current student, it's a no, but if, you know, you're the Spanish 3 teacher, and they're the Spanish 2 student, and you're the only Spanish 3 teacher, they're gonna be your student.
And that's technically how the code is written.
Exactly,
It says
yeah.
currently or could be.
And that's why when I was looking at this one, I don't think that the word currently would necessarily be enough.
Right.
Gotta put, you know, what about those students that they will have later? I
So
just
then
think that's
is
when you
this
get
middle
into-
sentence saying that the superintendent can override the Board of Education rules?
So that would be my second
That's what I'm
suggestion
saying,
is,
yeah.
I would say.
So you can't do this unless superintendent says it's okay, and then it's totally fine.
No.
I would say we strike unless approved by the superintendent.
that
'cause
has
I
to
don't
come
think-
out.
I don't even think you wanna put our teachers in the position where they think
That it's
that
okay.
it's okay, or the
But we
principal says you
also-
can do it, and we're like, hey,
No.
what are you
Right.
I
doing,
think we
principal?
also
You know,
have to add, so do we wanna add who currently or in the foreseeable future? I mean, what do we dictate? Because if it's a, I don't know. I mean, cause here it gets tricky,
Yeah.
because, I mean, true story, my kiddo had a tutorer,
Yeah,
and she worked at an elementary school, but guess what? She
Yeah.
went up to a high school.
it.
But there, how would
Right.
we
How
have
would you
I
know
known?
wouldn't have known
Right.
that, right.
yep. No, I'm with you. This is
So-
not, this is one that's a lively and ongoing.
And so that's why I'm almost comfortable with just currently.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Does tutoring take place in the summer months ever?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, good,
Tutoring.
for sure.
I mean, like, so one of my, like, what if you have a dance teacher, like the whatever, at Liberty or City or whatever, and then over the summer she runs dance camps? I mean, is that tutoring? For kids to stay current, but she charges them a fee. I mean, because it's summer and she wants to work and she's not currently in contract. Can she do that?
Your sports camps and stuff like
Or
that.
Yeah,
sports
that's
camp?
what- yeah.
Or what about a math camp? You know, what if they work at Bellin or something
I know.
and there's
Right.
kids going
We
to
have plenty
Bellin
of
for
people
math?
that do that.
Yeah, I've had kids
Yeah.
at Bellin that have.
I think
they're
it-
out my
I mean,
range.
Is that not tutoring?
It's
I don't
boiling
have
it
to
down
work
right to
tutoring.
double
It's not
dipping right in
Yeah.
the moment, right? So I'm getting paid to teach a student. I am then also going to get paid to tutor that student to do better in the class I'm already teaching them in,
Right.
that I'm getting paid to have them learn in. I think that's what it's trying to stop you from doing,
Eh,
right?
Yeah.
And
the
in that
ethic.
case, in your example of the Spanish 2 to Spanish 3, I guess I don't necessarily see that, like, I'm gonna get a student next year. I would want to be able to have them more prepared to then take I guess I don't see it as the same
Yeah.
conflict necessarily.
I think the ethics are, do you grade students differently because you,
Your
parents paid you hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
And but what does, and you said the
It's in there, and I can't
BOE
find
is-
the, I can't find the exact.
No,
Because what we don't want to have, I mean, if the BOE says you can't tutor current or
Does BOE
potentially
define
teachers.
tutoring?
We have
No,
Iowa
but,
code listed.
but
there.
I will say that, right,
Right.
like, these are from ISB, so I would hope that they've cross-referenced with the BOE
I would think
and
they have,
the
yeah.
code, and so
It lists the Iowa code down below.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't know
comfortable
what
with
that
it.
says.
I'm comfortable with their language in terms of, although exercising teaching is such a weird phrase, but anyway, that type of description of it,
Okay,
without having to,
dig for it.
yeah.
well,
I mean, but I still would like stricken unless approved
Oh,
by
I
super.
agree with
well,
that.
but I think it though, to the point of like dancing, right, or supervisory responsibility, exercising supervisory responsibility would be your dance coach offering dance lessons, to your point. I mean, I think that whole exercising is clunky with the word teaching, but it actually works, exercising supervisory responsibility or administrative responsibility. So that's where I think that those are three separate things, and that's where the currently, but we've had this though, Chase, music lessons.
I know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
And
of
so
right
you're,
away.
right, you're doing private music lessons and you're also a music teacher in the district.
Again, especially during the summer months,
Mhm.
I would think, because you don't want your students to lose
Yeah, exactly. That-
music
yeah,
caps.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. This has one that really, we obviously want to get all of them right, but you just want to have absolute clarity for people and families and kids, and, you know, you want kids to excel, you just want to know who can help them.
So, the other references it makes are to the policies early on, employee conflict of interest and employee outside employment, which I can't find that one, but conflict of interest, I mean, if you read it, it gives a little bit more detail, and it kind of talks to some of those things. I mean, it doesn't talk necessarily about the dance lessons, but it says, you know, performance of any act that the employee would be required or expected to perform as part of the employee's regular duties or during the hours which the employee performs services or work for the school district. So,
So during
like
the
the math
summer,
tutoring,
yeah.
right? But like, you're not expected to give music lessons necessarily to kids during the summer as part of your
Right.
obligations as
It's
a
not part of your
teacher.
contract.
So
Right.
maybe that's it.
Right.
That's
But you
a
are during the
difference.
year, and so if they continue
Right.
during the
So-
year.
So if you're doing it during the year,
You should,
you shouldn't be
Right.
to your current students. But if you're doing it during the summer,
Might be
you're
different,
not in
That's-
contract.
yeah, you're not under contract.
yeah.
I think the
Yeah.
language is
Yeah.
okay. We just need to
Yeah.
continue to have the conversations with, hey, make sure you're meeting your ethical
I don't
obligations.
disagree with that,
You
yeah.
don't-
So
you
are
know.
we taking, yeah, I'm with you, Chase. Are we taking on the last sentence in the first paragraph, the maybe approved by the superintendent out? Or, because unless approved by
I
the
think it's the
superintendent?
second sentence.
second.
There's a period after responsibility,
Yes.
Right.
and
And
then
the
the rest
Then
is
we're
struck.
strike, yeah.
I'm not sure what you want to do with the first
Since there are
paragraph.
exceptional cases when tutoring will help students overcome learning deficiency, tutoring by license. So, I mean, do we have those cases? Is that happening now where a homeroom teacher reaches out and say, this would really help Ruthina if I was able to?
I think you just simply say tutoring by licensed employees may be allowed, period. Not approved, not superintendent, I mean, because we allow it.
We do allow it. We do
Okay.
Yeah, that's
allow
what
it.
exactly,
Yeah, we
right,
do
it's
allow it.
take
That's
action.
it.
Every
Yeah.
time a teacher stays after school to help a kid, as I read this, is tutoring. Because in the third paragraph it says tutoring for a fee, which suggests that there's tutoring without a fee.
Right, but what I read the first paragraph is saying is, say you move from West to Liberty and
Right.
you're having trouble in your AP government class, and you go to your old teacher at West,
Yeah.
that person can tutor you for a fee.
Yeah, Jenny meets
Yeah.
weekly
Right.
with some of our
But there's,
students.
I think this
Yeah.
also defines tutoring as without a fee. I mean, there's tutoring with a fee and
Yeah.
tutoring without. Tutoring is not just when a teacher's paid, the way that this is
Yeah,
written.
yeah, it's both.
Tutoring exists
Absolutely.
when a teacher does it on a volunteer basis.
Absolutely.
And to me, because of, that's why that middle sentence is so bizarre. Because if you wanted to have this really expansive definition of tutor, again, every time a teacher stays after class and helps a student
Yeah. Right.
with
Right,
the
right, right,
material,
right. Yeah.
because we don't have a definition of tutoring, that could be tutoring, and that's crazy
Sure.
that you would need superintendent approval to do that
Yeah.
with your own kit. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
So then
So
we
it's just
should
teaching.
tutoring
It's just
by
teaching.
licensed
That's
It's like when
employees.
yes.
it's like when
Be
a
allowed.
dad
Yes.
says he's on dad duty, when
Yeah.
really he's just parenting.
It's just,
Right?
yeah.
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 I'm babysitting.
Yeah,
my kids.
babysitting.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
First
How many-
paragraph
Maybe
is licensed employees may be allowed.
So then maybe the second sentence is licensed employees may only tutor students for a fee other than those who the, right? Because it, to
Yeah.
Lisa's point,
Yeah.
helping them is considering tutoring
Yeah.
after school or whatever.
And that's really what we want to
Right.
let them know is you can't charge your own students.
So licensed employee,
Right?
Nor can you use school
Right,
facilities.
that's what-
right, that's
Yeah,
the
that's the last
last
one.
one.
The
That's
last
the
one's
last
gone.
one.
I'm just saying, we're
So
not
we're
doing that
just,
because
we're
that,
updating
right,
the
well,
second
most
and
people
last.
Yeah,
we
I
have
think
those kind of
if you added licensed employers may only tutor students for a fee, that would take care of my concern that tutoring is read really broadly.
Mhm.
And then, unless approved by,
Yeah, strike
No,
that.
we're getting
Or
rid
no,
of, we're
okay.
getting rid of that.
okay,
I'm good with that.
yeah, oh, because the BOE, yeah.
Right.
Okay,
All right.
so in that
Tim,
second
did you
thing, it's
follow
may
that?
only
No.
tutor
Okay.
students. I didn't either, yeah, sorry.
So, sorry, let's go back. The first paragraph, last line, tutoring by licensed employees may be allowed or is allowed.
Okay,
And then the next one, we end at supervisory responsibility, period.
got that, okay.
Last line, nope, I'm sorry, going back up. Licensed employee, what would you say?
May only tutor
For a fee,
yeah, just add for
Yeah.
a fee in there.
For a fee.
only, yeah. And then, that's it.
Well, then, the
Then we have to have that last sentence as well,
Unless-
so no other changes.
Yeah,
You were gonna take out the unless approved by the superintendent.
Yes,
on the last
again,
one.
on the
Yeah.
last one, take out unless approved by the super.
Sorry, Steve, we're not giving you the right to overrule the BOE.
I'm okay with that.
So does that make sense, Cam?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Licensed employee vacation, holidays, personal leave.
If, not to nitpick or hair split on that last paragraph, tutoring for a fee may not take place within school facilities or during regular school hours. During regular school hours. I'm a half-time 0.5 FTE teacher. I teach in the morning, the afternoon I do tutoring every Thursday afternoon of a kid who has 7th period open.
But
They're
then,
not my kid and I'm not on campus.
but then is that doing your regular school
Well, if
hour?
you're-
I
but-
mean,
No, because
you're not on campus.
I'm not on
Right.
campus
So you're
and
not
I'm not
using
under
the school
contract.
But it's a
Right, you're
kid
not
out
under
who's early
contract.
release, you're saying that kid's going to Panera and you're tutoring them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't think that
Is
last
there
sentence
during
for-
regular school hours is a weird
But I think
phrase
it's
for me.
the teacher's regular
Oh,
school
or,
hours.
it's an or.
Okay,
That's how I read that, not the students.
yeah, because it's or.
Yeah, it is or.
Uh-huh.
So,
I got you. Yeah, I can see that, everything.
Chase. You got that one?
No, I'm trying to, I mean, it is an or, but
Well, I think you can just say, or during employees' regular.
Yeah, if you added that,
Employees'
right,
regular
during
school
employees'
hours.
regular
Yeah.
school.
Well,
Tutoring for community
oh, wait,
placement in
23.
school facilities or during regular school hours.
yeah,
Because
Because
it's not
regular
like
school
you're-
hours reads, 8 to 4 or whatever,
Exactly.
right?
We're
You're
doing
not
the
shutting off
employees'
tutoring
regular
across the city,
School hours.
county, from these hours we have just
Yeah, if you
ended.
added in the
Employees?
word employee, we
Right.
would solve it.
Yeah.
Because then you're defining it to their workday
To-
instead
Right,
of.
instead of
that
the
makes
student's
sense. General
regular
workday.
school day.
Yeah,
Got it.
that makes sense.
Okay, licensed employee, vacation, holidays,
This
personal.
is why we never. It is fun.
We have 71 pages
Yeah,
left.
well, and this is where you do get into like,
Did you put that there?
Yes. We have to
I know.
get our other stuff. That's what I'm saying. 5 minutes.
What?
oh my gosh.
What?
yeah, Chase, this is the one where I was going over this stuff this afternoon, like, oh my golly. There's
Yeah,
a
because then
bunch
there's a
of
whole
options.
bunch behind that. Option 2 and what
And
do
it-
we do?
It says, please ensure that the language contained in the local policy is, we use the agreement. Why can't we just, for this point, move that, although it's not, is it consistent across employee groups?
No.
Mm-mm.
But if you
We'd
go
like
with,
to do
if you
that.
go with option 1, and this is, I know this will be a stretch, but if you go with option 1, which is what's on this first page, the board will determine it, the
Mhm.
superintendent will make the recommendation.
That's the recommendation.
Superintendent makes the recommendation, the board approves it, and then it's contained in the agreements.
Yep,
I
it
mean,
wouldn't be-
that's-
So,
Yep, I don't disagree, and then just skip all the rest of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Skip
disagree with that at all.
everything else.
The one thing that I would ask about that, because I thought that same thing today, is that if you're in a multi-year language deal, would you do it annually?
What do you mean?
Let's say
It
that we,
says that.
yeah, it says here, will be
we'll do it
allowed on an
on
annual basis.
It says that.
But if we set up this language and we say, for the next 3 years, this
That's
is the
what-
language, we're not touching it, then we wouldn't take it to the board each year.
But we take the CBA to the board every year,
Oh.
unless we do 2-year money, unless we would
Well,
lock something.
right, I mean, that's what I'm
We
saying.
have to lock everything for multiple years.
Which we've done.
Yeah. Is that a technicality that we don't really need to worry about?
It doesn't happen that often.
No.
Where everything is locked in.
Oh, I love ignoring rules, so yeah, no, that's tight, we'll just,
Good.
yeah,
I like
we
that.
won't worry about violating
Well, you
the
could just take
technicalities.
out the, on an annual basis. I guess I'm just wondering why you would have to have that language in. You could still, if you needed to do it annually, you could do it annually. If you had a 2-year deal on everything, you'd do it at the end of the 2-year deal.
Well,
So if you just
Yeah,
said that
yeah.
will be allowed
I
for
think you
licensed
just take,
employees.
I mean,
Just
yeah,
take out
'cause
the
when you-
annually in both of those sentences.
Yeah.
that will cover it.
It-
Because whether,
We'll make a
like you said,
recommendation
we
to the
would
board on
take it.
vacation salaries.
Yeah, I mean, because it's.
We're
in it, like,
responsible
the agreement
for it
says
in
how long
whatever
it's in
time
effect
frame
for.
we
Right.
So.
So that's what I'm saying, we will take out just the word
Yeah,
annual
yeah.
basis.
It's not like we're ignoring rules. I mean, it's the words are all there.
Pretty
So
sure you
Pam-
asked. if
I
we
just
could
don't want a
ignore the
future
rule.
board, no one
Annual
here would do it,
got
but
it.
a future board
Got
would
it.
say,
Yep.
you didn't bring this to us this year, and we're
Right.
supposed to, and we say, well, it's a multi-year deal on everything. So
But we're gonna take
We'll
that
take
out.
that.
There we go.
Perfect.
So then we can skip,
Again, Kim did it 20 minutes ago. We were
Yep.
talking.
we can skip the next stuff.
And there's a lot.
Yeah, so wait, but then, that's also covered under personal illness leave, or is that separate? 409.2. What is it?
Yeah, vacation, holidays, personally. they're
Okay,
all-
so then we'll skip 409.2. Now my computer doesn't work. FMLA.
Perfect. This document is available.
Oh, this one is complicated too.
What?
I like how they have it written here, just there's too much to write, so we're just gonna give you a web link. That's where you go
So-
find
It's
it.
a poster.
Yeah.
It's got
Yeah.
graphics.
So
You build
what
it into the
are we
policy.
getting, are we not gonna have a 409.2 or we are gonna have a 409? Sorry.
I don't think so.
No?
No.
Okay, good.
We're gonna skip that. We're gonna go to 409.3.
409.3, okay. Yeah, because that concerns about 409.2, but if we're gonna just, it'd be good.
Is the FMLA policy not in the?
It's not in the negotiated agreement, no. And this is,
But this is by law.
it is. It's just there's like,
It used
they
to
want you to
be,
do 7 options.
Didn't
on
it?
this thing.
was it in the old insurance article?
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't matter.
Right.
We don't need that.
Years defined as what?
Yeah, I'm not sure how
July 1 is. Where are
Well,
we?
409.3.
409.3.
have, the superintendent will develop administrative rules to implement this policy. Like, you're not gonna say how FMLA is implemented.
No.
You don't have that authority.
Actually, you do in
Really?
some circumstances. There are places in the federal law that allow you, and childbirth comes to mind, where an organization can determine whether or not the parent can take it intermittently or
Yeah.
it has to be taken consecutively. So
Consecutively,
there are places that the employer is allowed to make determinations on how it's handled.
Yeah, that's been a conversation around here for.
I mean, are we gonna get stuck on this and run out of time and not get through this?
This one's a beast, I will tell you that.
On the
FMLA.
FMLA.
Yeah.
FMLA is, if I remember, that was, I mean,
Well, I mean, that's, other than to Sean's point, do you want me to see what we have in
Yes.
HR and bring it back?
Yes,
Okay.
because I don't want us to start
Good.
hammering away and then.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would prefer to look to see
Yeah.
what we actually do.
No, we
No, we
don't,
can't.
but we have forms.
Right.
Right, I just gotta get all of that
Yeah,
together.
exactly. That's what I was thinking. We have forms, but they're not this one
So
exactly.
Chase is gonna bring this back to us. We're gonna skip down to bereavement leave, which is 409.4.
Yeah.
You making notes of everything you're supposed to bring back?
Well, that's why I got that exasperated.
Don't worry, I got into the language we're using for riffs, so.
That's what I'm afraid of.
So
Take better
bereavement.
notes.
Wow, that's way down.
I know, like I haven't gotten to it yet.
Oh, 409.4.
I know what number it is, but I keep going down, I keep getting stuck on 409.3.
Yeah,
In the
see,
event of a death of a member of a licensed employee's immediate family, wait, what's considered immediate?
yeah,
That's
Define that in the collective
Okay.
bargaining
Yeah,
agreement.
Yeah.
Child, spouse, parent, brother, sister, mother-in-law, father-in-law, in-laws.
We've got a different definition.
we have a
than
different
CBA.
definition,
We
yeah.
do.
We do. Ours is more expansive.
Yeah.
More inclusive. What's that? First cousin, for instance.
Okay.
That was
Yeah.
actually.
Grandparent-in-law, I think, is in there.
Yeah. Ours is, and
Okay.
this has been, I mean, this is an area topic, getting things in or discussing them has
And
been.
I'm not
a
sure that's the same
battle.
across all groups
Employee
either,
groups.
because I know that very thing came up during negotiations with,
So it's not the same?
2 years ago, with the
Secretaries and
secretaries.
Wait a minute, so it's not the same, we
I think we were,
classify.
I know we were trying to go through the process of making
We
them
were
the
trying to
same, but I don't know if
unify
it landed.
Yeah, we were trying to
I have to
unify.
go back and look.
So ours is the employee spouse / domestic partner and the child, foster child, stepchild, legal ward, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, parent, foster parent, step-parent, father-in-law, mother-in-law, brother, sister, foster brother, step-brother, foster sister, step-sister, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, grandchild, aunt, uncle, niece, nephew, first cousin, grandmother, grandfather, or great relative in any of the above-mentioned categories of the employee's spouse / domestic partner.
So my question would be.
Or the domestic partner, or the spouse or domestic
Right.
partners, all of those people.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So the domestic partners, foster
Mother,
mother,
yeah, boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but why
So
wouldn't
all of
it
Iowa
be
City.
Yeah,
across-
so
that definition will be
Actually,
consistent.
state of Iowa.
Or are you saying the
we could
definition?
Go beyond the Iowa borders there.
The number
I
of
don't think-
days wasn't consistent, or the definition of immediate
The
family?
definition of immediate family. was-
I don't think ours is that extensive
Yeah,
in
the-
like the technical.
You said you think it is, or
I
No,
don't think
no,
it
No,
is.
I don't think it is.
But see, that's my concern. Why wouldn't
That was
we?
when we were trying to unify things, and I
We'll
don't think
get
we
it there.
got there.
Because
we like
that's
our
the most
language.
expansive language on a bereavement policy I've ever heard in my life, is why it's not the same everywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why, right? 'Cause that's huge.
I'm looking at
The
the
university
para.
just says immediate family.
I also thought that
And
if
I
it was
come
a
in and
student
say,
of the district,
My
teachers and
husband's-
staff were
Well,
allowed
that we've got
bereavement.
language, see, here's the thing with that, paras actually is consistent with the teachers on it.
We have a whole different section on.
We have
For
a whole different
student,
section.
okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, in our negotiated agreement, I don't know if it's in the policy.
yeah, so that is where, right, you have the bereavement, right, so you get into, on bereavement, leave for funerals of people associated with the school district. We've got an A, B, and C on that.
But that's just in the negotiated agreement.
Right.
That's just in the
So
negotiated
that
agreement.
wouldn't apply
Because we're not
across the
negotiated
board.
agreement.
Yeah.
Yep,
No.
not negotiated group.
So.
I think we're gonna have to think on that one, and it,
I know.
purely selfish, it is getting kind of late, so I don't know if we're gonna detail it out. I do have a problem with the last sentence of the discretion of the superintendent determining the number of bereavement leave days to be granted, because that seems, it's written on like a case-by-case basis,
Yeah.
where, okay, for that one, I'm gonna give you 1 day, for that one, I'm gonna give you 3, that seems kind of sketchy. And it's not like that in any of the agreements, is it? It's like you get this many days, is it
Well,
not?
there's
Or is there?
there's discretionary, right in that area is discretionary leave granted by superintendent, but it isn't, and it talks about life-threatening, catastrophic medical situation, final stages of an incurable disease.
But that's not
But that's not a bereavement leave.
We're talking solely
Does a bereavement leave
bereavement.
have a specific number of days listed?
In the first paragraph.
I mean,
No, we're talking about an
Oh.
agreement.
Because I think all the agreements have a time, it probably says
Okay.
up to
Sorry,
a
so
certain
I'll
number.
say.
I thought it did.
They do.
Yeah, it's 5 and 1 in all. 5 for a family member and 1 for a friend. in
Yeah.
all of them.
So,
And
yeah,
we leave
it's
it up to
5
the,
and
we leave
1.
it to the employee, we don't.
How many they want to take
they
of
want
that
to do the
5.
5.
Yeah. that's why I don't
Per
like
event.
the
So we
last
can strike
sentence there.
that.
The
Is it
rest
per
of
event?
it's
I
all-
thought it was per calendar year.
Per event, we interpret it per event.
Okay.
Yeah, we can strike that
Yeah.
last line.
Well, so, sorry, this is where it comes. A couple of the agreements do divide that family.
Mhm.
So on our support side, 5 for immediate family, but then we consider
Oh, yeah, I was thinking that's right.
extended family to be aunt, uncle, first cousin, niece, nephew, or great relative in the above mentioned categories, and they only get 3 days for those. And that's for
That's for like the secretaries.
secretaries and food service, yeah, and fiscal planning. It's just because there's and why these are consistent is SEIU represents
Yeah.
these folks,
Right.
and
We represent.
ICA represents the others, and so it's just different things that they've been
They've
asking
fought
for.
for the
Yeah, they
different
fought,
things.
they fight for different things.
Mhm.
So, you can use the same language you use on the leave that we used on the other one. The superintendent shall make a recommendation, the board approve it, and then it's contained in the negotiated agreements.
That might be,
By the way, going back to that, I think we should make a reference to the negotiated agreements.
Yeah.
So too.
Because we want people to know where to look.
yeah.
Not necessarily from a legal perspective, but if you're looking to find how much holiday leave you have, I want to tell
I'm
them where to go.
wondering if there's some way to tie the timing to the negotiated agreements, like on an annual basis or as negotiated.
Negotiated.
Do you know what I mean? And so it's normally
And
annual,
reflected,
but
yeah.
it gives the leeway that if you negotiate for 2 years, you don't do the comeback.
That makes,
Mhm.
yeah.
I mean, I think that's the way, I can't think of the language on the top of my head, but I feel like that's the way to do it.
At the time the CBA is approved, or you said that comes every year.
Just so that it's
Or
seen,
whenever
like
it's
people
due.
think that, okay, well, you're doing it regularly. Like I'm
Yeah,
a little bit
yeah.
uncomfortable with like no timing because
Yeah.
then like,
Yeah, and it is much more likely that you're doing something annually, money typically.
Yeah.
But since I'm new, we've had 2 instances of 2-year deals on everything, so, I mean, it's unlikely to go beyond that. Unless we're going 4% for 3 years this year. I mean, I've heard that out there. Steve, anyway.
Let's
And
go back
that's
to that
fine.
reduction in force
Yeah.
language.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. We're gonna have a lot fewer staff members.
Social studies teachers get a bonus.
Both
That's
sides up,
weird.
so I can
On the
make sure
bereavement.
Kim has it.
She wanted to type the bereavement.
Same language that would have been.
Same language.
90409.1.
You got that, Kim?
Yep,
But we need to add,
So-
but we need to add something about the collective
The-
bargaining agreement.
yep,
and
referring the
providers,
negotiating
too.
Are you,
Yes,
are we in 409.4 bereavement?
Yeah.
We were wrapping that up.
No more than blank days of bereavement leave per year will be granted. Are we
Well, we're
doing?
tying it to the
Yeah,
negotiating
we're taking
agreement.
that out and just saying,
Good,
make a
good.
recommendation and it's getting approved.
Good.
And I like the idea of saying, look here for that information.
Right, yeah,
Yes.
you don't know what it looks
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, and that's a smart way to do it. I get a lot of questions about this. What do I get? How does this work? Okay.
So, we're gonna go back around to B, approve the December 11th minutes, because it's my understanding.
Items on our agenda.
Yeah,
Okay.
items on our agenda, sorry, because that wasn't done. So, is there a motion?
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Selection of committee chair.
I move that Ruthina stays as committee chair.
Paul's not here. I'll do it. I don't care.
Then I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're just gonna set the next meeting. Sorry, calendars. So we have a regular board meeting on the 14th, and there's a work session afterwards.
and there's a closed session before.
Okay, so then, what about the 21st?
That's
Is that education?
committee at Tate, or
Okay.
I'm not sure we'll be in the Tate building or in the Hoover. Yeah.
Do we know what's on the 28th yet?
I have P&G on my calendar,
On which day?
the 28th.
28th is also Day on the Hill.
It is.
Who's going to the?
Oh.
Steve and I are.
We're lobbying.
Okay.
Nice.
Rock and roll.
The
You guys can have
28th is-
P&G in
We
our
can still
absence.
have P&G.
Well, we tentatively have the,
What did
land acquisition on the 28th. Does that have to be a closed session for, talk about the or Roosevelt? I mean, does that have to be on that date, or?
No, it doesn't.
SIAC meeting is on the 28th, so.
Oh, is
SIAC
it?
is?
Why don't I have that on here?
What,
I don't either.
when does sign up meet?
SIAC's at 4:30.
I don't have that on here.
Okay, do we have to stick with a Tuesday? Is that just easier for you? And maybe Paul and you guys? Because we're never gonna get through this.
Is SIAC in the evening, after, late after?
4:30 to 5:30.
Why don't I have that on here?
It doesn't have to be.
No,
I mean, there's
not
already
easy.
stuff here and there,
Okay.
but.
Does it Thursday work?
They
Well,
can't
well,
work.
exactly.
Okay, I'm sorry,
Don't
does
go,
a Thursday work? Wednesday
That's
or
fine.
Thursday, which
I
one
put it on
looks better?
Wednesday, Thursday, that
Okay.
class in the evenings.
So, I'm trying not to make people meet back to back. The 22nd?
That actually is okay for me.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay, Brady?
Dentist?
Maybe?
Yeah, I think that.
Okay.
I don't have anything.
4:30 to 22nd, I will text Paul, and if one of us, you could pencil it in, Lisa.
I'm in South Carolina on the 22nd.
Okay, then we will
but-
make it work. I will let Paul know 4:30 on January 22nd, next P&G.
Yeah, I bet you will.
So that is going to.
It's a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, God.
Yep. I'm not connecting to the internet.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor? Yay.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Kim. 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 Okay. Thank you, Kim.